The biggest mistakes that parents make in IEP meetings are detrimental to their students' success in elementary school, junior high school, but even more than that, post-secondary. See, special education is about meeting three federal prongs, right? Gainful employment, independent living, and further education. And when we make these mistakes, there may not be a way to remedy them. So please make sure that you join, like, subscribe, share all the things so that you know the biggest mistakes that parents make so that you or your friends who have a child in special education don't make that mistake. So if we haven't met, I'm Karen Mayer, Cunningham special education boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. So let's talk about this first biggest mistake, and that's being unprepared to participate in the meeting by not reviewing documents. So I had the blessing and honor of training school districts and advocates and parents nationally. And this is what you need to bring to the meeting, not just you. You need to be prepared. This is not a restaurant. This is not a car dealership. This is not your surgeon where you go in, tell them what you want, and they bring it out to you. That this ain't that. You are required to fully participate. You can't fully participate unless you've gone over the document. So if I was training you to be an advocate, and I am training you to be an advocate, I have three sets of documents that are always on deck. Three sets of documents. What are those, Karen? Number one, I'm going to have the child's last FIE, full and individualized evaluation, full initial individualized evaluation, or their last reevaluation of existing educational data. What is that? That's the last comprehensive set of evaluations that I've done to identify the child in 8 areas. What are those 8 areas? Number one, speech and language. Number two, medical physical. Number three, sociological. Number four, a full cognitive evaluation, all 7 Gs. Number five, achievement in reading, writing, math, oral expression, listening comprehension. Number six, adaptive behavior. Number seven, a full psychological evaluation to consider eligibility, need for services, psychological counseling, or a functional behavioral assessment. And number eight, related and instructional services. So the last time that we did that evaluation, I'm going to have that evaluation on deck. Why? Because those are important points of how a student is going to be able to approach education, receive education, retrieve education, keep, store, all of those things, right? And so I'm going to have his last evaluation on deck. The next thing I'm going to have on deck is his last full annual IEP meeting, his last full annual IEP meeting. So whenever we agreed on his last annual IEP meeting, let's say it was March of 2024, then I'm going to have that full document there. Okay. The other thing that I'm have is going to be this, a draft copy of the IEP. A draft copy of the IEP. Let me clarify something. I am not an attorney, nor will I ever be one, but I am a non-attorney advocate, and I represent hundreds of people annually in IEP meetings. A draft document provided to the school, provided to the parents from the school, does not mean predetermination. That's not what predetermination means. Let's stop saying that. Predetermination is when you get into a meeting and you have a proposal and you don't move at all. And you're not going to move even when you see new information. That's predetermination. Your decision was made and nothing can move it. So a draft does what? It allows the parent to do this, meaningfully participate, meaningfully participate. So you sitting in the room is not meaningfully participating. So I need to know what we're looking at. I've got a diagnostician and an LSSP and a speech pathologist and a general ed teacher and a special ed teacher and the director of dyslexia curriculum and a principal and I don't know, somebody taking notes. They're all looking at computers. You know what they're looking at? You're looking at draft documents. So of course you have the legal right to look at those documents. And so when I am in a meeting, often ahead of time, always ahead of time, I ask for this, a full draft copy of the entire IEP document, comma, knowing that it's just a draft and all decisions are made in the IEP meeting, right? Without that draft ahead of time, it's unlikely that my client is going to be able to make an informed decision, and we may have to reschedule, which would be a complete waste of everybody's time. And so since we're in a business meeting, let's act like we're in a business meeting and let's provide the parents the opportunity to meaningfully participate, okay? So sometimes this is what the school email me. They will email me the IEP goals and the present levels, or sometimes just the IEP goals. So that's fantastic. Those are components of the document. They're not the totality. So the reason that we had last year's annual IEP meeting is because I'm going to compare them page by page. Is it commensurate? Is he making gains? Is he making expected progress on what we talked about there? So you handpicking just a few pieces of documentation is what? A waste of my time. So let's not waste people's time. Let's be efficient. Let's know that this is a business meeting. What is a business? It's the business of educating your child with a disability. Okay. So let's say they don't provide that to you ahead of time. Then we get in the meeting. Everybody makes introductions. Hi. So now that we're in the meeting, it is now September 16th, 2024, and we're in Billy Smith's meeting. Would you please provide myself, the parent advocate, and the parents an electronic copy of the entire IEP document in draft form, knowing that it's just a draft? If they can't do that, then I'm going to reschedule. If you don't have the draft, we need to reschedule anyway, right? Because we're not going to spitball it. We're not going to just wing it. This is a child that you receive federal funds and state funds to educate them. You wrote a letter as a state saying, hey, dear federal government, we are Mississippi. We have written you this letter that we are going to meet our IEP goals annually. And so I think parents are overwhelmed when they get in meetings and they have no idea what their rights are. But the very biggest mistake that parents make is not having draft documents in front of them. So these are non-negotiables. I've never been in a meeting. I have never participated in a meeting in the last 28 years that I didn't have draft documents in front of me. And when I say in front of me, I mean sent to my other computer, printed out so that I can walk through them, so I can highlight them, so I can make notes, so I can participate, right? All decisions are made at the end of the meeting. So nothing is predetermination. It's not against the agenda. It's not against the law. So when you collaborate, co-labor with the parents and the IEP team, you're going to have successful student outcomes. So parents, this is the most important mistake that I want you to avoid, and not having draft documents in front of you. Last evaluation, last year's annual ARD, and a full copy of the draft IEP meeting that you're in so that you can make good decisions. Remember, we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys in the next training.